Superman's death toll numbers is starting to reach X-Men numbers. Seriously though, who is heading the DC animated film department? In the midst of pretty interesting releases this year, such as Batman Ninja, Gotham by Gaslight, and Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, DC is going forward with once again adapting The Death of Superman as its next animated release, and man does that not excite me. Maybe because it feels like this is a well-worn path that we've been down several times at this point. For those unfamiliar with the story, here's a quick synopsis. A monster eventually named Doomsday comes crashing to Earth and starts wrecking things pretty much the second he lands, and the Justice League goes to stop him. Everyone else not named Superman was beaten to a pulp, and in the end, Superman and Doomsday beat each other to a pulp, resulting in both of their deaths. The story actually isn't as interesting as its impact on the comic book medium, and when you think about the underlying premise, there's no way it really could be. I mean, take a step back and look at it. Kill Superman. Superman. The quintessential superhero, Mr. Truth, Justice, and the American Way, who at that point had 50 years of massive cultural influence. That's a huge bomb to drop during an era where comic books were all the rage. And then they weren't. But that storyline was in 1992. It's nearly 3 decades old, and people have moved on already. But just in case you think anybody has forgotten the story, don't worry, DC has you covered. Including the upcoming movie, this is the 3rd time this particular storyline is being adapted, and the 2nd time it's being adapted as an animated feature. And this just puzzles me. I mean, admittedly, Superman is hard to write for, but there had to be more stories in queue than just this one. I mean, Superman for All Seasons, Camelot Falls, Doomsday Wars, Strange Visitor, any Brainiac invasion story, any Warworld story, Superman for Tomorrow, or if you want to stick with the New 52, you can do Grant Morrison's excellent Action Comics run, or you can do Men of Tomorrow, Hell on Earth, Doomed, don't do Doomed, or True. Or if you really want to score big bucks, you could do an animated movie-length adaptation of For the Man Who Has Everything. You know, like that episode of Justice League that broke all of our hearts into a million pieces. Sorry. Batman v Superman was only 2 years ago. Admittedly, Superman Doomsday, the original animated adaptation, was 11 years ago, and it was a direct-to-video animation much like the upcoming film, but I don't care. The story doesn't change via the medium it's in, and I'm Doomsdayed out, guys. The only other movies involving Superman that was released by DC in recent memory was Justice League vs. Teen Titans and Justice League Dark. And those aren't even Superman stories. But, hey, at least he's there, right? As I mentioned before, Superman has a wealth of content that can easily make a direct-to-video film. So, why are we here again? I have a theory. Follow me on this. We're in a weird space with the DC animated film universe. They were set in motion largely with the idea of animating the New 52 era of DC Comics. For those not in the know, the New 52 era was a line-wide revamping of all of their comic properties to reintroduce the characters to a newer generation of comic book readers, and these movies were set in motion to attract the less reading-inclined folk into the fold. I mean, it is easier to catch up with the storylines when you can just watch an animated adaptation as sort of a summary. But with the overall opinion of the New 52 era being largely mixed to negative, especially in regards to Superman's revamping, the New 52 era was scrapped in favor of Rebirth, which was another line-wide shakeup that acted as more of a soft reset for the status quo as opposed to the Crisis-style universe reset. And Superman's fate in all of this was both brutal and kind of confusing. See, the final arc of New 52 Superman's main title was a crossover event that was called Final Days of Superman. Sorry, how did I get that messed up? This arc sets up Superman to basically assess his New 52 career in hindsight and ultimately how it got him killed. And no, I'm not making that up. This is some really existential stuff. The very first page of the arc has Superman breaking the fourth wall and telling the reader that he's on his way out. He rattles off some sort of excuse about how multiple different drastic changes to his body were causing it to break down in some form of incurable illness, but really he's actually looking back at how the readers honestly didn't care for him, especially in stories like Truth. He rages on about how it's not fair that he's not going to have more time to really become the Superman that readers wanted him to be, and he just resigns to his fate. He goes around making amends with several friends they had alienated in previous arcs, showing more classical Superman traits as the arc goes along, and then he learns of a new threat, a man who has taken on the power of Superman's solar flare, but not just the solar flare, the man truly believes he is Superman and has become a psychopath in the process. Oh, and also there's another Superman who's on the planet who came from a different era. Actually, it was pre-Crisis. He was in the event called Convergence. I don't really want to go into that because that's just another wild story that would take too long to explain, but just roll with it. He fits in here. Anyway, the final battle is New 52 Superman battling with someone who believes he was Superman, but was actually just an imposter with his power set, which can be interpreted as a meta commentary on New 52's entire existence as a whole, someone's terribly misunderstood idea for what Superman is. And as I said, New 52 Superman is becoming more like traditional Superman during these final moments in the arc, and it played out as Superman coming into being the Superman that we wanted him to be versus the version of Superman that nobody wanted. But being that New 52 Superman's time is already up, he goes out in one big bang. In the final moments, he says his goodbyes and he turns to stone. Oh hey look, there's the other Superman. See? Told you he fits in. And no, we're not done kicking the Superman while he's down here. After the introduction of the Rebirth era of Superman comics, post-Crisis Superman steps up to take New 52 Superman's place. At first he tries to find a way to revive his fallen friend, much like he was revived back in Death of Superman. See, that ties in somewhere here. But eventually he gives up on the idea, accepting that his alternate universe self is finally gone. And after a bit of dancing around the issue of New 52 Superman being gone and leaving some unfilled holes a few places, the arc titled Superman Reborn comes along and reveals that the two characters, New 52 Superman and Post-Crisis Superman, were actually the same person, and merges their spirits to create a one complete Superman timeline, effectively retconning New 52 Superman almost out of existence, with a selected portion of his stories being tied to Post-Crisis Superman at some point. Damn, they actually found a way to kill someone twice. So how does all this info dumping manage to tie into the upcoming Death of Superman adaptation? I feel the winds of course correction are coming to the DC animated movies as well. The New 52 influence just might be on its way out. And the Death of Superman might be a segue into a revamp, maybe a rebirth of their own? As of right now, the slate is bone dry for the DC animated movie universe, other than Reign of Superman, which is going to be the follow-up to Death of Superman, which is coming in 2019. Everything else is suspiciously missing. While I don't think that everybody else is going to die in a brawl with Doomsday, although that would be one hell of a shakeup. Justice League International, anyone? I do think he's gonna beat them into some sort of soft reset, metaphorically, like in between the time of Death of Superman and the release of the Reign of the Superman. There's possibly gonna be a staff shakeup and maybe a new direction for the films as 4 new Superman characters get introduced into the verse, as well as the inevitable return of the original Superman. And everybody else gets new stories based on their rebirth arcs, maybe? If that's the case, then yeah, I'm on board for this. I mean, okay, I have to watch Death of Superman one more time, but if this one more time leads into more interesting stories, more fresh ideas for everyone, and getting to see maybe a more deeper dive into DC's mythos, then yeah, let's greenlight this thing, let's go. I mean, I want to see another Shazam movie. I want to see more Green Lantern. I want to see more Green Arrow. I want to see more Supergirl. Maybe more Wonder Woman. Hell, Grail and Darkseid having a movie would be awesome. Mr. Miracle has a fantastic series going on right now. I would want to see more of these in the movies than what I'm getting right now. And if this movie is truly acting as a segue so we can get to that era of the DC animated movies, let's go. That is something I want to see. But that's just a theory, of course. I mean, for me, personally, I think it sheds a little bit of light on why we're seeing this particular story and why we're seeing that there's nothing else planned. But I don't know for sure. I mean, let's have a conversation. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. And if you like this video, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. Help me get out there to more people so we can have more comic conversations. I love doing this. I love making videos for you guys. Right now, I'm trying to establish a solid schedule. Work and some other projects are kind of putting me in this weird dysrhythmic dance, but eventually I'm gonna have a more solid schedule for you guys. I'm gonna have more content on a consistent basis, so please subscribe so you can see more coming up in the future. As always, this is Gold Will signing out.